Hello and welcome back to Masquerade, Songs and Shadows. Last time we went through the tutorial and it was pretty cool, very cinematic. I'm really enjoying it, and so we're going to jump into the actual gameplay. We're going to start a new game. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut out my recording software here and let the game load and then jump back into it so that we don't have any crashing here. But it looks like there's 3 different difficulties. There's story mode, which allows you to basically go through the story where it's as easy as possible, I guess. There's of course normal, which is, normal. And then of course hard. And that's for looking for a challenge. Now, I think I'll go with normal. I like a little bit of difficulty in my games. For the first time through, I'll definitely do normal. If I were to play it again, I'd probably do it on hard. But let's jump into it, and so I'll be back in just a moment. We're back.
Ships. Nowhere else in a midnight build are there so many damn ships. Is it true though? You say a moment you lay eyes on that city, a demon possesses you. It's where all magic comes from, they say. Hey.
They also say the pipe will kill you. Yet, here we are.
Yeah. The whole trip I tried not to, Cicero. But you made a promise. Going back here ain't gonna do you no good.
I made a promise to my parents, too. To feed them. Give them a better life. I need the money, Varl.
And the question is, are you willing to pay with your soul for it?
I suppose we'll find out.
Into the shadows we go. Breathe it in, Cicero. The smell of a bad decision.
Ah, smells like runic spices to me. Ugh, and sewage.
You joke about it now.
Relax, Varl. I'll see you in a 5-day. I promise.
A promise. If you break it, I swear to our 7 sisters, I'll come down to the pits myself to wrangle your skinny neck.
I'll see you when I see you, Captain. Pits or no.
Varl and the Emerita. Wait. Varl and the Emerita. Few can understand the relationship between a captain and his ship. It's a love of sort. Found in a few other places. Perhaps the closest relationship I can think of to parallel it would be between those of a tinker and his tools or a blacksmith and his smithy, but no, looking at Varl and his ship, you realize that wouldn't quite do it. The first time I met Varl, he'd been screaming at one of his crewmen for chipping a board along the side of the Emerita. The poor lad was shouldering a shipment of pole arms from Tessera and had grazed the hull of the ship. I learned later that this was not an uncommon occurrence. A nick on a mast, a scuff on a floorboard, and off the rails he'd go, screaming, yelling, throwing things about. No one ever got seriously hurt, but considering the vigor and passion with which he'd braid his crew, one would think they chopped off his toe, or burned off an eyebrow. And perhaps in some sense they might as well have. The Emerita was as much part of him as any of his limbs. His love for the Emerita went far beyond simple fondness. He'd integrated it into his existence. It had entwined itself within the threads that formed his identity, and any offense against the ship was a direct offense against him. Some would say that a craftsman is only as good as his tools. I'm inclined to say that a man has taken it quite the step further. So we're going to get little backgrounds on stuff. That's interesting. Oh, and locations. Here we go. Umbra, the jewel of the Midnight Belt, acclaimed by all the nations for its wealth and exotic magic. This is the place that I've called home, the country that banished me in exile. Now I've returned to find little change. It is still bustling and alive, and it still rests in shadow. Whether I am stepping back onto its wharfs, facing open arms, or hidden knives, only time will tell. Alright, so that is the lore. And I guess we, can we interact with people? Stay out of trouble, citizen. We can't chase the cat. Okay. I have to say the voice acting in this game is pretty fantastic. Let's see.
Sir.
Sir,
Relax. You are the coach hands I was told to expect?
that's us. Elena Toth, sir.
Ricardo Toth, at your service.
The coach is nearby?
Just a minute this way, sir.
Oh, let's check out the Toth twins. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm gonna actually go through all of the little story because it's interesting to me, so I hope it's interesting to you. So the first citizens of my homeland that greet me are the coach hands that I have been told to seek. They are clearly contendani, for no coach hands of the registry would have Mascherines wasted upon them, and thus I cannot help but wonder what they see when they see me. After all, I am the brother of the man who fought for their rights, the man that I abandoned 5 years ago. I suppose time will tell more of their opinion and whether the ripples of my actions have touched them, but for now, it seems as though they have no issue with my role in the event of history. I hope I don't crash in any of these loading screens. Other kitty. Just trying to see if I can interact with anyone or anything. Look at that, skewered lamb legs. I am free to wander a bit, but does not look like I can actually interact with anybody. What do we got here? The docks of Ombre. Okay, so little lore spots. There might be no other landmark in Ombre more significant than its docks, which most of the days of the year are occupied by trading vessels and merchants. Watercraft. Popularly referred to as the Jewel of Midnight Belt, Ombre has, over the years since its birth, turned into the busiest port in the whole belt. As the nexus of hundreds of trade routes, Ombre's docks see men and women of all nations on its wharfs and serve as a prime platform for the people of a myriad of cultures to mingle while their vessels are serviced and refueled. The city's beautiful, colorful demographics is just one effect of this mixing. The fortune of having such a capable harbor, as well as such a fine location, has allowed trade to become Ombre's primary form of economic sustenance, and has afforded its reputation reach far beyond the waters. What do we got here? Factions. The citizens of Ombre are classified broadly into two categories, the Contendani and the Masquerada, those without Mascherines and those with, respectively. The Masquerada themselves are divided further into the Registry and the Simora, the latter which comprises 6 guilds of the city. There is a third faction not often spoke of until recent years, the Mask Runners, an encompassing term that refers to all owners of Mascherines who refuse to align themselves with any of the Simora or the Registry, and consist of dozens of smaller factions that exist too multitudinously to be chronicled here. Before Cyrus we were treated like dirt, but now they look upon us like we're a threat. Okay, so we can't actually talk to... that must be my chariot awaits. I'm gonna wander around a little bit. Explore the docks a little more. Oh, nice. I'm not very light-fingered. That's alright. You'll be the distraction. I'll do the stealing. That's an interesting conversation. Pass me my shiv. I left it at home.
Flashy. I expected the registry to be spending more on dealing with the war than prettying up their carriages.
Oh, actually, sir...
Don't get me wrong, I love the finish, but...
Sir, it's this one.
What? Oh. Well, the less attention we draw, the better for us anyway. Come on, let's see if this butte can get us through the... ages.
Presents out, all of you. Make no trouble for us, and you'll have none yourselves.
Sir?
Do it.
That's it, boys. Stop by again, you know. It was a pleasure.
They're getting bolder by the day.
I would have liked to have seen how bold they felt if they knew he was an Inspectore. I bet they would have thought...
Ricardo!
Hear that, boys? An Inspectore.
You mean you no trouble?
Words spoken behind a blade. The Inspectore will fetch us some. We don't need the other two. Truly a pleasure. Hold your...
Holding. And I have no abilities. It's just me. I can't tab between anybody. And I still don't know what the Q ability does. Who do we go for first? The ranged guy, right? Take out.
So, Ricardo, you watched me fight.
He more than watched, sir. He was practically gawking.
Sister!
Relax. All I wanted to know is why you seem so surprised.
Well, 7 Inspectores and none would stoop to a level to have contadini like us present to watch them train.
Doesn't mean you can't steal a glance from the West Wing. The upper levels provide quite the view.
If you don't mind me saying, sir, you're awfully comfortable around us.
What do you mean?
People like us, I mean, contadini, maskless.
You mean people who have lives and dreams and all? I think I'd be more worrying if I was uncomfortable, no?
The Masquerade, I sound like a bunch of jerks. It's kind of like the Jedi.
Oh, it's been so long since I've heard that.
Heard what?
Slow down, please. That. The Pale Isle. For a city this dark to have a heart so bright. Let's go. This is new.
Extra security measures, sir, since the war began.
Business?
Transport.
And who are you transport... I see.
Problem, Ilencio?
Carry on.
Intriguing. I feel like I'm not talking enough during this Let's Play, but there's so much voice acting.
Well, that wasn't very polite.
You don't expect them to treat war criminals with politeness, do you?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to.
No. Stop the coach, please. I think I'd like a little time to myself, if you don't mind. I'll make my way up to the White Spire when I'm done.
Of course, sir. We'll be at the stables if you need to find us.
Content, Danny. The Masquerada might be the jewels of Ombre, but it's the contendani that are its lifeblood. A large number of contendani found outside the city in the lands known as the Echoing Plains. The plains are still within the national borders of Ombre, and settlements in the plains that are collectively known as the Randagia, house of a great many of the nation's contendani. Life in the Randagia is pretty simple compared to that in the city. Farming and raising cattle are the most common jobs taken up by the contendani living there. Within the city, however, a great many contendani have taken up residence. Too many people from foreign lands, their presence in the city makes no sense. It's a dangerous place, one filled with death and poverty. Yet, why does it attract so many of the nation's lower class? Most of Ombre's scholars believe that once enough individuals come together to form a sufficiently large society, that society begins to behave in ways that are independent of perhaps even detrimental to the interests of its members. In a way, the city develops a mind, a will of its own to survive and keep plowing on. So they say asking why contendani continue living in the city is problematic, because it assumes that the individual desires of each contendani would somehow be reflected in the larger movements of the city, when that is in fact not nearly the case. The cyclical rhetoric that has been given is that the contendani remain in the city because they are part of it, despite their individual desires have no power or collective to change that. To a certain degree, I believe in the theory, but I fear it all too well masks acquired a reason for the growing existence of our underprivileged lower class, the potential of fulfillment. Many contendani glamorize the lives of the Masquerada, and I cannot blame them for doing so. We bend the elements of our world to our will. We live in lavish houses and beautiful vistas. We needn't ever worry about finding food for our next meal. This lifestyle has strong lure, especially to those of empty stomachs and vacant purses, and has brought a great number of contendani to the city. These are men and women who harbor the hopes that by placing themselves in direct vicinity of the Masquerada, they will one day be able to join the ranks. That hope is not a real one, not a futile one. I myself have made the transition, although it is not one that often gets fulfilled. Alright, well, we're going to wander around and take a little look. 12 years. 12 years I've slaved for what? Those useless lard asses up there. Careful, Cerise. That's interesting. I can't go any further that way. The Pale Isle. Pale Isle is the registry's principal ward, and by nature of its proximity to the White Spire mostly exists to serve the desires and wants of the members of the registry. There are numerous taverns situated in the Pale Isle, as well as recreational facilities that help the people of the White Spire take edge off life in the Shadow City.
Hey, aren't you forgetting something, scum? Oi, I'm talking to... Of all the souls, I never thought I'd get to see you again.
What do you want?
What do I want? I want you to have a taste of what we went through because of you. Oh, the mouse has teeth. Let's see how well he bites.
Hold your ground! Yes! Damn it! I need help!
The man who lives like a coward deserves to suffer like one. Valencio, Sir, I swear, I didn't...
Attention. We are in the middle of a war, Silencio. Do you understand that?
I didn't...
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Your masquerine is to be used against the mask runners of the city, not against its citizens, exiled or not. You have demonstrated a sore lack of understanding with regards to the utilization of Mascherines. You will unbind from your Masquerine and have the privilege of its company revoked for a period of 10 days.
Aw, poor guy.
Keep me waiting any longer and it'll be 30.
Yeah, you tubblard. Take
Go.
that.
You lucky bastard. If I hadn't been out for a drink...
At this time, someone's picked up some habits.
Why are you here, Cicero? A man with your reputation must be either mad or desperate to return to the city.
Here, read it.
Summoned back to Umber at the request of the Verone, your exile will be revoked and you will be granted a grand sum of... So what? You're back for the money?
Indeed.
Mad or desperate.
And do you know for what reason you've been called back?
If you can decipher anything from this cryptic mess, please.
You need to see a Vestus.
Accompany me? I think it'd be a good time to hear what's been going on.
You mean it'd be good to have a bodyguard?
Well, I was trying to be nice.
Come on. He's in the White Spire.
Tristan Delzo. Tristan, if there has ever been a better personification of stalwart duty than Tristan Delzo, I have yet to find it. The current Valencio of the city and I have quite the history together. We had both been porteri at the same time and had served in the same section when we were but Alencios, just starting out our careers. He joined the forces because of his family's legacy. One of the first few Varones of the city had been Ramas Dazol, whose assassination served as a spark that began the events that led up to the March of the Broken Songs. Despite his assassination, however, the ancient Dazol was reputedly a great man and excellent fighter. Tristan admits freely that he feels no emotional connection to the story of his great forebear, but his father had wanted him to be part of the Porteri, as his father did before him, and so on and so forth. Though Tristan couldn't have cared less about what Ramus would have thought, he certainly was a great deal more concerned about the opinion of his own father, who himself had been the Valencio before Tristan. It was, in fact, the father who had allowed me to join the Porteri, though that is a story for another time. And so Tristan and I began our journey together. He, the descendant of some famous politician, and I, the descendant of a contendani smith and florist. So I guess he's going to be with me on my journey. And get stuck. Shall we? Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to... Can I save? There's no save. Hopefully it will save me here, but I'm going to wrap up this episode here. I hope you're enjoying this look at Masquerade, Songs and Shadows. It's a really interesting game. I'm really interested in the storyline, and I haven't been talking much because there's been so much voice acting, and the voice acting is really good for an early access game such as this. This is pretty good. So if you've been enjoying the series so far, don't forget that like button as it helps me a lot, and until next time, Delgar out.